Welcome back. So here's a pop quiz for you. What do we call the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution? Well, if you said the Bill of Rights, you got it right. But most people didn't. Only 4% of students born and raised in the United States got that correct, and only a third of Americans can name the 3 branches of government. That's why here to take on a new requirement for students, people are looking into them passing a citizenship test before they actually get a diploma. So we're going to take that one step further. Do they need it to graduate? Do they need it to vote? Joining me now, Whitney Neal, spokeswoman for the Bill of Rights Institute, and Lorena Rifo Jensen, co-chairman of the Utah Civics Education Initiative, the group working to pass this rule in Utah. Thanks for being with us this morning here. Whitney, I'm going to start with you. Should this citizenship test, should that actually be required to graduate high school?
Well, I think, civics education is a huge important issue, but I think requiring a test to measure if we've actually improved civic knowledge is a Band-Aid. It doesn't actually address the problem. We're in the middle of, learning that standardized testing is limiting some children from achieving their full potential, and we want to add another test as a measurement mechanism. I think we're missing the root of the problem here, and that's engaging kids with civics and with government rather than just giving them another arbitrary test.
Okay, so Lorena, I'll let you respond to that. I know you actually came here, immigrated from Chile in the 80s. What do you say?
I think we need to do everything that we can to engage our new generation of students so they can be involved in civics. I think it's human nature not to study, not to learn, if we can put it away. But I think if you ask them to complete a test, it will create an incredible conversation among family members, and I think it's a good step.
What about if we took it one step further, as I just mentioned, into voting? Should you have to answer, the majority of these questions, if not by graduation of high school, but by the time you vote? Whitney?
Well, I know a lot of people that probably could get a perfect score on their driving test, but you put them behind the wheel, and that doesn't necessarily make them a good driver. So again, I think we need to go back and look at the real basis of this problem. Have we made civics education a priority in the classroom? And have we equipped teachers with the ability to engage kids on this topic? My kids, I taught 8th grade, they were debating the constitutionality of Obamacare, and that taught me so much more about what they knew and what they could do than I would have learned from a pen and paper test.
Lorena, what do you say about this? Voting, should it be required?
I think personally that anything that you can do to ensure that our young people, our families are involved in civic learnings, the history of our country is a positive. And furthermore, I think how can you go into planning what the generation will do in the future if you're not prepared and understand where we have been?
Sure.
Personally, I've taken my daughters to voting with me, and I think it's critical. You cannot be engaged without having the full knowledge and understanding of your nation.
Well, it's a more meaningful measure when you vote, perhaps, too. That's great that you do that. So some test examples here. Who's in charge of the executive branch? When you look at the number of answers right, it's sort of disheartening. The House of Representatives has how many voting members? The answer there, of course, is 435. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson is the answer, in case you're wondering at home. But when you look at how many people get those answers wrong, how concerning is it to you that those very people are voting?
Well, personally, that's why I think it's so critical that we begin this conversation. And I think this is one step in the right direction. And that's why we're asking local government, local states, to decide what they want to do with this. And obviously, I just wouldn't understand how we could be engaged citizens and voting if we don't know the history, how our government works. And I think this is something very important for all of us as Americans.
Sure, we should want to know it, perhaps. We want to know what everyone thinks out there who's watching right now at Fox and Friends. We want to thank both Lorena and Whitney for joining us today for this very civilized debate. Thanks.